Inside Out 2 is a masterclass in continuity. I feel that way. You could tell by the thumbnail. And let's talk about why. There have been so many wonderful videos that break down why Inside Out 2 is so genius from, a clinical or a psychology perspective. And that's so valuable. And I'll link some of those below. But what I want to talk about is the continuity in its storytelling. When I watched Inside Out 2, I was so amazed by how much they had kept in or remembered from the first movie. Inside Out came out in 2015. Inside Out 2 came out in 2024. Disney had 9 years to figure out how they wanted to handle a sequel. I don't know if they took notes. I don't know if they had just like a one-page précis or like a summary about what they had done or things that they specifically wanted to follow up on. But holy cow. All that being said, let's talk about what was so impactful in maintaining these different elements. What was the value of this continuity, right? What does it do for the character? What does it do for the story? And how does it work with us, the audience, right? So the first most obvious continuity is Riley's love for hockey and how Riley makes friends and builds positive memories through hockey. And honestly, it's not even always positive emotions. Riley builds connections through hockey, and we have seen those feelings can be complicated. If they lose the game, as we saw in the first movie, then there's a sadness. But when they rally around each other afterwards, there's joy. And it would have been so easy for them to say either Riley grew out of it or just to keep it as a background part of her life. In the first movie, hockey was integrated into Riley's core memories, and we saw younger Riley playing hockey. But having just moved to San Francisco, she did not feel that she had access to a hockey league, a place that doesn't really have winters, much less winters comparable to Minnesota. For those who don't know, it is an extremely northern state. It borders Canada and gets incredibly cold, like minus 20 degrees kind of cold. So in the first movie, hockey is a background element. We see that it's a part of her personality. We see that it's integral to who Riley is.
I found a junior hockey league right here in San Francisco, and get this, tryouts are tomorrow after school. What luck, right? It'd be great to be back out on the ice.
Hockey is its own island in the first movie. And in the second movie, Disney decided to bring hockey to the fore. They already told us that hockey is how Riley has built bonds with her parents, and that it was something she did with her friends in Minnesota. Now she gets to experience hockey here too. And in the beginning of the movie, Riley's already firmly in hockey. She has been playing for a while. She's got 2 friends named Grace and Beatrice, and they're really close. They are in sync. They play well together. They do this move. It was such an incredible tag team move that it's really what caught the attention of the high school coach. That Riley was able to do a blind pass, and Grace was able to move where Riley was passing because they just know each other so well. And Beatrice killed as goalie. And we see after the game is over, these girls ride in the car together with the parents. They have a routine at this point. So automatically, right out of the gate, Inside Out 2, we know that Riley has expanded her relationships in San Francisco. We saw that she was really isolated at the end of the first movie, and we do not see her build these relationships. We just see that they've been built. And we are given to immediately understand that Riley's kindness in helping Grace when she dropped the coin jar in a class presentation, that kindness was something that they foundationally shared. Beatrice got up from her desk to also help. And then they found a hockey together. So they were able to share those personality attributes, the kindness, but also to bond over the hobbies and the passion, hockey. Let's talk about the other side of hockey in Inside Out 2. Because while hockey has been given to be such a powerful, joyous thing, there are also moments, as we've seen, where there's sadness or disgust. When Riley put on the wrong mouthguard, it was nasty, and disgust let her know. But when we learn that Beatrice and Grace are assigned to different high schools, Riley really struggles. Because how is she going to make friends? Her friends are not going to be with her anymore, but they're going to be together. And when we get to the high school and we get to hockey camp, a lot of Riley's actions are dictated by these relationships in hockey. She's thinking that she's going to be alone, and that if there's a chance for her to make friends, it's only going to be through hockey. That if she doesn't want to be alone all through high school, then she has to be great at hockey. Riley does not consider that she could make friends through her classes or that she could make friends through other clubs. Riley's mind immediately says, if I am not good at hockey and I do not make the team, then I will be alone. Hockey and friendship are so ingrained in Riley's mind, they're so interwoven, that the idea of her own isolation is where anxiety steps up to the plate, and anxiety takes over the console, because anxiety worries that by holding on to the friends that she's made already, Riley is limiting the friends that she might make in the future. And anxiety also shares this idea that not being on the hockey team means not having friends. I'm jumping ahead a little bit in the movie. Not a little bit, it's a lot. I'm jumping ahead a lot in the movie here, but I want to fast forward and just talk about what happens when hockey goes wrong for Riley. In Inside Out 2, we spend a lot of time seeing Riley shine in hockey. The movie opens, as I said earlier, with her, Grace, and Beatrice playing in sync. But at the end of the movie, Riley has alienated Grace and Beatrice, and Riley is beginning to isolate the high schoolers as well. And the idea that she is losing the friends that she's had before, ruining her chances to make friends in the future, and sabotaging her chance to be on the hockey team. That lack of connection to friendship and to hockey really is the culmination of all of these decisions that Riley has made based on the foundational idea that if she does not make the hockey team, she will not have friends in high school. Every decision is based on that assumption. And the movie ends with letting us know that Riley will make friends in high school whether she makes the hockey team or not, because she, Riley, is worthy. The next thing that I want to talk about that's just such a beautiful choice by Disney and Disney Pixar, that kindness and happiness are well-intended. They're good feelings, and that Joy, as we know her in the Inside Out movies, is always well-intended. Her goal is always to take care of Riley, to protect Riley from fear, from pain, from anything that Joy considers a negative feeling, anything that doesn't make Riley smile or laugh, but does not fully understand the impact that forcing her perspective on Riley and the other emotions would have upon Riley. Joy means well, but in the first movie, Joy is all about keeping Riley happy, as Joy thinks that that will keep Riley her best self. It involves no negative emotions, and to put a positive spin on challenges in life as a means of making them fun. In the first movie, we see that Joy undergoes a journey to understand the power of what she understands as negative emotions. When Bing Bong's rocket is thrown away, Bing Bong really struggles to continue on their journey. And Joy tries to make him laugh, she tries to make him smile, she tries to make him forget about it. She tries to block those negative emotions so that Bing Bong can help them get to Riley. But Bing Bong doesn't want to feel better and get right back to work. He doesn't want to just forget about his rocket and all that that meant to him and to Riley. Bing Bong is a creation of Riley's. Bing Bong is something that Riley chose to spend time fantasizing about and building an emotional connection to this friend that she designed. She was born with Joy, but she created Bing Bong. And so for Bing Bong to lose his rocket is for Riley to lose the chance at her childhood dreams. A younger version of Riley believed that she and Bing Bong would one day go to the moon. And as it happens to many of us, as we get older, we realize that certain dreams we had are not possible. I wanted to be a mermaid when I was 5. But for Bing Bong, joy wasn't the answer. Sadness really stepped up here, and sadness comforted Bing Bong, demonstrated compassion, where she sat with him, and they talked about what the rocket meant to Bing Bong, what the rocket meant to Riley. And sadness let him feel and process everything. Once he was able to do that, once Bing Bong was able to take the minute to feel his feelings, to mourn the loss of those dreams, to reconcile what the loss of the rocket means for him, Bing Bong has had the rocket as long as Riley's had the dream. And sadness lets him feel that. In Inside Out 2, we see Joy managing the memories. Some memories go into long-term storage, some memories go into the belief system, and some memories get thrown to the back of the mind. Remember this for later. With a sense of self that was built almost entirely of positive emotions, Riley's sense of self was incomplete. When we see the memories go to long-term storage, and we see the core memories that Joy has selected for the belief system, all of the memories that Joy has chosen are happy ones, and they all have positive takeaways. The memories that go to long-term storage are more diverse, and the memories that go to the back of the mind are almost exclusively what Joy considers to be negative emotions. Because to Joy, having unpleasant or not complimentary views of yourself is to invite unhappiness or to invite misery. And once again, Joy has to learn that all types of memories have a place. In the 2015 Inside Out, Joy has to learn that all feelings have a place. In Inside Out 2, Joy needs to learn that all memories have a place. And that it was ultimately Joy's mountain of memories that she had sent to the back of the mind that swallowed up that sense of self in the beginning. If that mountain of memories does not exist in the back of Riley's mind, then when anxiety throws the sense of self into the chute, it doesn't necessarily matter the same, because there's not a mountain of memories there to swallow it. When Joy decides that Team Riley has to ride the wave of negative emotions and negative memories to HQ, she has unlocked a similar understanding. When Joy finally lets Riley have access to her negative memories and her unpleasant experiences, Riley is able to formulate a more complete sense of self. She has to process the difficult feelings and the difficult memories and integrate that into her understanding to accept herself. Because a summer camp hockey game is not going to define Riley's life. Riley needs to be able to process and accept that she has done things that maybe were not her best self. Maybe she made choices based out of anger or fear or disgust or sadness. Maybe she made a decision that doesn't speak to who she truly is, but it is something that she needs to reckon with and understand how that fits in with her idea of herself. She is a hard worker who sometimes procrastinates. She is kind and sometimes has a bad day. She loves her family, but sometimes wants to be left alone, or sometimes lies to them. None of those define Riley, but growing from them, learning from them, and taking that knowledge makes for a healthy Riley. The first Inside Out movie ends with the installation of a new console and an alarm. This alarm is called, as Disgust puts it, puberty. They don't know what it does. It doesn't seem to have a button. It is just a bright red light. Inside Out 2 begins with that alarm. We have just won our hockey game, and then the puberty alarm goes off. The first Inside Out movie did a wonderful job just in that brief scene where the emotions do not know what the alarm is. They don't know what it's for. They can't even pronounce the word. So foreign is the concept of puberty to them. Don't they get a crash course come Inside Out 2? They didn't recognize the different colors that were introduced to the console. There were purple buttons and orange buttons and these teal blue buttons. But when puberty kicks in, the console responds differently. Before this point, it seems that it largely worked the same. There were just new buttons and features that our Team Riley didn't know how to work. There was a nozzle that Anxiety uses that Joy says she'd been using as a cup holder. Even though the console was upgraded, our original Team Riley has not had to deal with much change in their use of the console. But when that alarm goes off and the room starts blaring, it is chaos. They did not know what puberty was, but they do now. When Riley wakes up and Team Riley's emotions have to kick into gear, the console's reacting and responding way too strong. The lightest touch has Riley in a meltdown. Team Riley shows that they learned from the first movie. They have worked up a fluid understanding between each other, and they work seamlessly. To have that rattled by this new console and this terrifying response to the lightest of touches, the team doesn't know what to do. And isn't that just so true? This is an aside. Isn't that just so true of puberty? But the way they seamlessly sent us right into Riley's life in San Francisco, and that puberty alarm was really important. Another message and underlying theme that both Inside Out movies share is that more than one thing can be true at a time. In Inside Out 1, we see that you can feel more than one thing at a time, or you can feel more than one way about something. Inside Out 2 really highlights that we are complex people, that we are not one thing, that we are not one absolute. Kind people have bad days. Selfish people have generous moments. And in Inside Out 2, we learned that to accept yourself, you have to understand all parts of yourself, and that some parts of yourself you will enjoy and take pride in. But the movie also demonstrates that it's really important to understand the unpleasant parts as well, to take bad memories and to take lessons and bad decisions or imperfect decisions and recognize that they do not define us. In Inside Out 1, we talk about how no one feeling is better than the others. And in the second movie, too, we see that no one truth is more important than the others. We have to accept all parts of ourselves into the bigger picture. We see that sadness is about more than tears. Sadness also empowers empathy and compassion. We talked about it earlier, but Joy did not know how to help Bing Bong. Sadness did. And that comes from understanding what Riley needs when she is sad and giving that to Bing Bong. In the first movie, Riley's memories are all one color. But as the emotions begin to understand each other and the role they play in helping Riley, we see that by the end of Inside Out, that Riley's memories are multicolored. There are red and blues, there are purples and greens, there are yellows and blues that all make up Riley. In Inside Out 2, the mixed feelings and the mixed feelings on how we process our memories is still there. The second movie remembers that the movie ended with us having mixed feelings on a memory or an experience. And from the jump, we see that that is still the case. Memories are largely multicolored. In Inside Out 2, we see a sense of self that's built wholly on positive emotions and memories. The sense of self is built off of one feeling's discretion on what belongs in the sense of self, in the belief system. By the end of the movie, we understand that all of the experiences matter for the sense of self. It's not up to any one of our emotions to decide for us what is worth remembering or how we feel about ourselves. We get to choose. When all of Riley's memories and experiences are mixed together, her sense of self can grow anew. And honestly, that's just a great transition point to the next thing that Disney Pixar did so wonderfully: color theory. Originally, with the sense of self that was built almost entirely on positive memories, Riley's sense of self was rounded and very bright, but it was one color. By the end, the sense of self is multi-textured. There are jagged edges and rounded edges and swirls, and it's got this rainbow wave of multicolored chrome just emanating off of it. And throughout Inside Out 1 and 2, Disney utilizes the power of colors and shapes. Inside Out 1, we see that Riley's favorite sweater, or one of her favorite shirts, is this multicolored stripe long sleeve. It's bright, it has all of the colors of her emotions, and the console reflects those emotions with their colors. All of the emotions are color-coded, and that is made very clear from the beginning. The movie never says, oh, the emotions all have their own colors. It shows us. Anger presses the red buttons, disgust presses the green buttons, joy presses the yellow buttons, and so on. As Riley moves through Inside Out 1, as she's dealing with the new house and their lost luggage and feeling really lonely and watching her parents get really stressed, Riley begins to wear darker and darker clothing. By the end of the movie, when Riley can't feel sadness or joy and she decides to run away, she's wearing all black. There is no color in Riley's outfit anymore. In Inside Out 2, that concept is expanded upon, where Riley wears different colors, and the console has new buttons, and those buttons are new colors. But they introduce textures. In the belief system, we see that when Joy places these emotions, they are wavy, curvy when she presses them, and perfectly straight when they grow. Anxious memories are jagged, and they use a bright orange that makes the viewer a little uncomfortable. But that color is the color of caution. It's the color of anxiety. It's the color of imminent concern. We're not quite red, we're not in danger, but we're not safe either. And to see these colors in the belief system contrast so sharply, it really gives the viewer an idea on how many joyous memories were implemented in the beginning, when Joy was making all of the decisions. By the end of the movie, there are different colors and textures, and the sense of self reflects that. This new sense of self is made up of different colors. It is as multifaceted as Riley herself is. Something else that both Inside Out movies do spectacularly is they don't have a villain. In the first Inside Out movie, there are a series of events that lead to Joy and sadness, being out of HQ and having to get back. But there's not a villain. Joy has subdued sadness in a lot of ways. Joy has inadvertently vilified her fellow members of Team Riley, but she was never malicious. She did not seek to hurt anybody. She sought to protect Riley. And in Inside Out 2, Anxiety does the same. While Anxiety is commandeering and ultimately a bit aggressive, they aren't a villain. They're frightening at times when Anxiety's face is on that jumbo screen looking at the imagination people drawing. That was frightening. But Anxiety doesn't hurt anybody. Anxiety's not malicious. Anxiety is trying to protect Riley, just like Joy was in the first movie, and just like Joy was doing when she formatted Riley's sense of self with largely happy memories. In both movies, there's a difference between someone with a lesson to learn or the point of view characters and the villains. Villains seek to hurt our protagonist or seek to in some way undermine the moral structure that our protagonist embodies. But that's not the case in either of these movies. Inside Out and Inside Out 2 explore the idea that conflict or bad decisions do not make us villains. Our intentions really matter, and how we communicate those intentions also matter. In the first movie, it is by watching sadness that Joy begins to understand sadness's function. And it is when she's reviewing this memory of Riley and her hockey team, she realizes that only happened because Riley was sad. That Riley's memory was originally a sad one, that they lost the game and Riley felt responsible. But when Riley's team comforted her, Riley felt better about it. And Joy had to observe that to understand. Anxiety had to see that their path did not work. That while they were well-intended, their inability to collaborate with the original emotions limits their view. They can't collaborate with those who have known Riley the longest because anxiety kicked them out. And anxiety didn't kick them out because she didn't think that, or anxiety didn't kick them out because she wanted them to disappear. She kicked them out because she thought they were too simple, too straightforward for Riley. But sometimes the simple things need to be said. Those are our friends. We can make friends in other ways. In both movies, we see that any one emotion running the console too harshly or dominating the console leads to an imbalance in Riley herself. In the first movie, we saw that she made an aberrant decision to run away. She stole from her parents' wallets, she used their credit cards, and ran away. In the second movie, she dismissed her friends. She was aggressive with members of her team, she was rude, she lied, and that's not who Riley is. She behaved outside of her character, and that happens when the emotions don't work together. When the emotions don't collaborate and work cohesively, Riley herself is not cohesive. What's also wonderful about these characters in Inside Out is that they evolve over time. And this is kind of an extension on, they're not villains. They were well-intended individuals who made less than ideal decisions. Joy knows intimately what it is to try to protect Riley by any means, to make what you see to be hard decisions in order to protect Riley. Anxiety behaved much like Joy did in the first movie, and Joy could see that. Joy originally said,
"You don't get to choose who Riley is."
And Anxiety responds a little bit later,
"I'm sorry. I was just trying to protect her, but you're right. We don't get to choose who Riley is."
And Joy is reminded that in the first movie, she was much like Anxiety, and that Anxiety was not malicious or malintended. They were just unequipped, and they were making decisions out of fear, out of anxiety, rather than making decisions with Riley's needs in mind. Anxiety worked based on Riley's fears. We needed to work on Riley's needs. In both movies, the emotions have to learn to work together, and they work together in a way that shines a light on their strengths. Fear has a place. Fear's checklist for Riley's gear before a hockey game keeps Riley safe. It helps to lessen the risk that Riley will be hurt. Sadness is needed to process hard feelings, things that bring Riley to the point of tears, things that bring Riley down. Disgust keeps Riley hygienic. But anxiety reminds the team that Riley has a Spanish test and that we need to study. And that's something we can act on. And when Riley's playing hockey and she's with her friends again and they've apologized and talked things out, Riley wants joy. To revel in this experience with her friends and to revel in the warmth that this moment gives her. The bonding of friends after a disagreement. Stronger for it, closer for it, and now they get to just have fun.